trying to get even larger. Yeah. Yep. Are you ready?
I either hit it too soft or too hard, one or the other. I don't. I'd like to call our first is our
Here's something about it. Thank you. Here it's many times. Asking for your guidance and support as we begin creating public engagement discussion and allow us to grow closer as a group in your lives. What's the mindset? Keep the wheels turning. We're thankful for the board members also, and those who about. We ask this all in Christ's name.
Amen. Thank you, Bob.
Alan Carpenter. Here. Rick Day.
Here.
Bob Neckinga.
Here.
Pat Gilsma. Here. Kelly Johnson.
Here.
Paul Huckle.
Here.
Stephanie Connor. Craig Mendy.
Here.
Scott Wyman.
Here.
All present.
Our next order of business is the approval of new park numbers for May of 2024. Jeff, can you give us the breakdown?
Yes, I would love to. May sales actually were the last 3 days of April, last 4 days of April through the entire month of May. So total sales were 21 new sales, 11 through our sales department, 8 through our for sale by owner process, 2 transfers. Total new members were 35, and the breakdown of that was 7 members in their 30s, 12 members in their 40s, 9 members in their 50s, 4 members in their 60s, and 3 members in their 70s, and that concludes the May sales for 2024.
Thank you. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the members.
So
members. That was Bob.
This was.
Second. Nope. Go ahead, Paul. Support Paul.
All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The next order of business is the approval of the May 2024 Board of Directors meeting notes. They were provided to the board members for their review. Are there any questions or corrections from the board members?
Second, Pat.
All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The next order of business is our financial report. Treasurer Rick Day, do you have any comments?
Just add that the Finance Committee did meet last week and recommended approval of the financials as presented.
Okay. Kimberly, could you give us the May 2024 Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails financial statements, please?
Of course. May 2024 financial statements for Sandy Pines Our operation cash net income is $1 million lower than prior year. We are waiting on a few additional invoices to finish the payoff of the phase 2 pool. When that is paid, the asset replacement cash will refund the operation cash balance. So you will notice a change in that later. The Schwab investment account is approximately $42,000 higher than prior year, which is a 2.5% gain overall. Administration and board have been also looking for ways to capitalize on the days cash on hand with our operation cash checking account. And as the board, you'll see later in the meeting, the board will later recertify a resolution, which admin has worked to transfer within the same bank. So we're working with the same bank, but opened up a money market account that will bring in an additional 4.2% on the balance of cash that we have. We thought that was in the best interest of Sandy Pines to work on that. And it is easily transferable between the checking account and the money market as needed for regular operations. But we think that will help a little bit extra to help with the inflation that we're seeing within the park too. On our operational expenses. Member accounts receivable is down, as we typically see at this time of the year, which is keeping up with their membership account. Actions are fairly finished for season. We see little activity in that as well as the rest of the year. Current liabilities are approximately $462,000. Which with Sandy Pines is a $28 million organization, that's pretty phenomenal. So we'd like to kind of keep it that way, but I just want to point that out. Administration, there are no significant changes to note specifically for the month of May. You will see an increase for all departments within revenue, and that is because the month of May included 3 different payroll cycles. So you will see that even out next month. Typically there are 2, but this month had 3 payroll cycles in it. The 31st was the last day of the month. It was a Friday and payday. Inspection income as well. You will see there as we go diligently in that area. Maintenance, they're doing a great job maintaining their balance and their budget. Security specifically does not have any significant changes. Recreation is just starting up for the season. Just a little bit of activity starting out in May. We'll see up through the season. Resort significant May, except the regular monthly cable bill and depreciation. And also on the bottom, we'll see a $20,000 gain on that investment account, which is just in the month of May. Lease activity, you'll see minimal activity as we go throughout the season. Beauty shop and Eat West are 2 lease operations that we have, and food truck income you will see within that department. Park and Garden is also off to a great start in the season. You will notice that we moved the country store and the country cafe activity out of Park and Garden, and now it's under retail. So it's more reflective there, so the activities in Park and Garden will be specifically Park and Garden. Current net income as of the month of May year to date is $31,500 versus $18,500, so they've had an increase of $13,000 just since last year. And a lot of that is actually due to less expenses across the board and cost of goods sold, a reduction in cost of goods sold. Golf cart rental, you'll notice an increase in that on the actual rentals income. You will see an additional expense in the month of May. We cut our checks also, payable checks on Fridays, and the 31st was a Friday, so we had a double lease payment on that on the month of May. Golf cart specifically in May, that lease, was approximately $16,000, but overall net income is down $12,000, so overall there was a $4,000 gain. And just finishing up retail, this is where you'll see a lot of the activity picking up with the country store, the country cafe, as you know now the Dorita, which is underneath Sandy Pines as well. You're going to see the activity just starting off in the month of May. That was the first time most of those areas were under operation. So it does have an overall net loss for the month, but that's because a lot of their cost of goods sold and expenses are purchased upfront, and you're going to see the activity and the income picking up off of that throughout the season. And then last, our sales department, they have been doing a great job. You're going to notice the commission income specifically for the sales department is really picking up quite a bit. But also our transfer fee income is staying right where it was at last year too. So our transfers within the park. So we've been seeing good activity there. And site rental income, we just had a manager's meeting yesterday, and that's picking up. Spots are filling up very quickly. So we're doing well there as well. But that concludes my report for Sandy Pines.
Thank you. Do any of the board members have questions or comments on the Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails financials for May 2024? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Supported.
Second, Dave.
All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Kimberly, could you give us some information on the Lake Monterey Golf Course May 2024 financial statements?
Yes. Overall, our current cash, operation cash for Sandy Pines is up about $200,000. Oh, I'm sorry. As of May 2024 year to date, operation cash for Lake Monterey is about $200,000 higher for our operation cash, and our liabilities are down about $5,000 lower than what it was prior year. So again, $41,000. And overall assets for the golf course are $1.7 million. So our total overall, we do have the long-term liability of $380,000 on the basics, as you know, and we'll continue to be looking at that. But overall, Lake Monterey is doing well maintaining their assets. Our green fees and activity within the golf course is up. We continue to see that picking up. Our member green fees are about $7,000 higher than it was last year. So members are still getting out there playing, and a lot more than the prior year. I think it was nice having the town halls last year because a lot more members maybe wouldn't have been out there before were able to look at the golf course, see what there was to offer. And we have heard that members that haven't been out there before are really getting a try, which is good to see. And then we're noticing more activity, just specifically within the sales. The beer and wine is picking up, which is good. Our food sales is down, but we're not really focusing on the food sales as much. The activity there with the cost of goods sold there really didn't pick up a lot, so you're going to see the offset of that with the cost of goods sold, and we're focusing on other areas. And our merchandising sales is right where it was last year, but the cost of goods sold on that is lower. So overall, our overall net income, our overall gross income is about $20,000 higher than what it was prior year. And then our operation expenses, again, you're going to notice the same thing here with the 3 payroll cycles, and our expenses a little bit higher. But otherwise, everything else within the expenses is pretty much maintained the same. And even with the extra payroll, their overall operating expenses were about where they were at last year. And overall, they're about $16,000 higher net income than last year. So the golf course is off to a great start, and that concludes my review on the Monterey.
Do any of the board members have questions or comments on the Lake Monterey Golf Course financial statements for May 2024? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve, Pat.
Second, Kelly.
All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Kimberly, could you give us some information on the preliminary budget review that's going on?
Sure, and this is just an overall review of the budget. We did look specifically at, I mentioned last week, the CPI for the month of, or for the next year is 2.6%. going into the next year. And that amount of income that will be coming to over into operations is about 80,000. And then we do have a little bit of an increase on the regular capital that will be coming in because we're now applying that CPI inflation on both. It's the same increase to the numbers overall, but we're splitting the difference between operations and capital. So I have been busy filling my schedule with meetings for my one, focusing specifically on operations as far as outside of that CPI increase. The only other area is seeing where our expenses, operation expenses are increasing and trying to offset that with the revenue that comes off of that. So as we said before, we're noticing more expense in the maintenance of our vehicles and the maintenance repairs things. So where can we increase the revenue in that area as well? So we are looking at the fees. This will all be presented to the board as well. And then, the finance committee for recommendation to the board as well, but we will look at all of that very diligently. But just like everyone around the country is noticing that push in that increase in fees as an organization we're seeing it, but we're still sensitive to the needs of the members as well. And second to that, we are looking at capital infrastructure. As we noted last month, the 10-year capital is going to be coming to an end. So we will be going back to just a little bit over $200 per member for capital infrastructure. And with all the different capital that we have within the park, maintaining it or replacing it because the structures that they were there just aren't maintaining with the way they were built before, there are needs to replace them. We have worked very hard on trying to find whatever money outside of the organization that is available to us. We have a great director in security, safety and security. Steve Yarman has worked very hard bringing a lot of money into this park that is free money in the millions of dollars for the park by building things. First one for phase 3, second the North Shore building we're all in, and now the CC1 building. So there have been millions of dollars brought in from the state and the government, which is very competitive just with the good work that he's done. And we are looking at how we can keep up with that infrastructure because those grants and projects are just getting more and more competitive, but there are things we need to replace and keep up with. So on that note, in addition to looking at the operation funding, we also are looking at capital. So I did look with the managers, and we also worked with long-range planning with the finance committee, and we're looking at what needs the park needs and how we want to focus on that going forward. So as I mentioned before, on a month-to-month basis, we're not stopping looking at the budget. We're looking at current year and also looking ahead just to keep track and always stay focused, make sure St. Pine's is in a good financial state.
Thank you, Kimberly. My comments to you, first of all, I want to thank you all for coming out. I know the weather's miserable. So whether you came here by car like I did with air conditioning or you braved the golf cart to make it here, it's really nice to see so many people. I really want to recognize and thank our staff because they're doing a lot of work in miserable conditions. It's very hot, they're out there mowing, they're pumping their tanks, everything's going on smoothly. I hope everybody's had a chance to see the Phase 2 pool and take your kids there and enjoy it. I've heard some really good things from people that they're really enjoying it. Also, I want to just ask everybody, especially at this meeting and some upcoming meetings, just to be patient. And the board is working through some things and some language and things, and we're working for the betterment of the park and for the good of all the membership. So, at this time, Jeff, do you have some comments?
Sure. So yes, again, like to thank you everybody coming out. Again, it is hot, sticky, but this is air conditioned. Reminder, this is also a cooling shelter. So we have had power flipping on and off throughout the park. Air conditioning goes out, the lake's too warm, pools are too overpacked. Come on in and North Shore is a cooling center. Staff is doing a great job in this heat, so we thank them. Board and committees, I'd like to thank them as well, because we're starting to ramp up activity, budgeting, getting through rules, adjustments, changes, things of that nature. So the behind the scenes team that you don't necessarily see out there, the committees, the staff that are out there, board directors doing their liaisons and other things, everything is going well right now, and membership is awesome as well. So it's been a good start, and we've been keeping it going. So thank you. A couple of quick things. Site cleanup. So how's everybody's sites looking? They looking good? All right. It is looking great throughout the park. We still have some areas to clean up. Those are getting communicated to. We tried to do, before we went out to take a look, we did take some, inventory of some areas that may need some work and some help. We did try to send some emails out prior to the 10th to say, hey, you might want to think about taking a look at your site. The 10th has rolled around. Those notices for the violations are going to go out. And then again, the new rule says you've got 7 days from that. We really want to make certain that everybody's site is clean and beautiful before the 4th of July weekend. So, and I know the park inspectors, Jim and Steve and Cindy, in the office there have been tirelessly going through that stuff. So thanks to them. Another item, so Kimberly hit on Steve Yarman, who is a fabulous resource for us, Unsung Hero, bringing millions of dollars into this park. He also helped write the grant for the dam, and the dam project, I don't know how you want to spell that, is still, it is fast and furious. It's approaching us. Originally, when Steve wrote that, we thought we were going to get a total of about $700,000, of which Sandy Pines was going to be on the hook for about $300 and some thousand of that. Sandy Pines is still on the hook for about $300 and some thousand of that cost, but the state is putting in $700,000. So this is, right now, pending how this thing plans out. We've got $1 million, of which Sandy Pines is going to have to pay $3,000. I wish it was $3,000. $300,000. So again, Steve has done a great job on that. Public notices have been out. We've had 5 contractors come in earlier this week and bid the project. The project is still targeted to start after Labor Day weekend. Allegheny County is the point on running this. So we're following the bid process, the procurement process, the contractor selection process. If any of you want any sleeping advice or activity, I've got a 281 page of the parameters from Allegheny County that we could read through. So that is moving, and we're getting a lot of questions on lake level and things of that nature. We are trying to monitor the lake level. Everybody, and I don't want to say everybody, but I believe the majority of the membership believe or feel that the lake level is at the top of that spill wall. It's not. It's about a foot below that spill wall. And then the engineering drawings are the county and the state want us at least another foot below that by the time we start the activity, which is not ideal for us for a recreational lake. We're already getting the calls, hey, it's very shallow, we are trying to move boats around as needed. We have 4 well pumps. If you remember last year, we tried a 5th one over in phase 3, didn't work out so well. We have 4 well pumps. 3 of them are on and working. This one out of North Shore here, it is still pumping pretty good over by the kayak launch in the marina. That one is pumping really well. The 3rd pump, I would say, is probably about 50% functionality right now. It's not pumping out a lot. That's a little bit of a mixture of the aquifer underneath that, as well as some mechanical stuff that we've been working through. So we're trying to monitor keeping the level of the lake so we can still utilize it, as well as we got to get about another foot or so below the normal lake level. If we don't hit that, then the state is asking us to do what's called a controlled drawdown of the lake, where we have to open up that spill well underneath there and release water from the lake. And we don't want to do that for various reasons. So that's just a quick update on the dam project. We'll keep everybody continually posted on that, and just appreciate everybody's kindness and patience with us during the season. Really blessed to have you guys, so thank you.
Okay, under old business, Jeff, could you give us some information on the watercraft regulations? Are we getting both?
Yes. So speaking of boats and watercraft, again, we have a lot of boats on our lake, and you know, when we launched the lake committee, gosh, what was it, 4 years ago now? 4 years ago now, we looked at, you know, everything, capacity, you know, how are our rules written and things of that nature. We have seen numbers go out and spend a lot of money financially on boats, and then when they brought them into the lake, they don't meet the rules. If it's a pond, and it's mainly been pontoons, our decks have to be 24 feet or less. Not 24.1, not 24.5, not 24.9, 24 feet deck, fore and aft, the longest point. That rule has been a state rule since 2012. Our Sandy Pines rules back, I want to say back in 2018, we were relying on registrations. We are a state-sponsored. We've seen dealerships, you know, I'm not saying that any of our members are, you know, fabricating documents or anything, but we've seen dealerships put the hull on the registrations. And when we go out and we take a look at that and we actually do a measurement of those boats, they are not to state law requirements or Sandy Pines requirements. We've had to remove probably half a dozen boats this year, unfortunately. Now, the majority of the members, I would say probably four out of the 6 were actually kind of happy because they were old boats. I'm like, ooh, I get to go buy a new boat. But we want to bring that up because the state law is the debt, and that's why we did make a rule change based on the Lake Committee and the Rules Committee, I want to say back in 2021, 2022. The registration is a state document. It still has to meet what the actual vessel is, and if it's not, then it's a bad state document. We have to get that corrected. But we changed the language in there specifically. It's always been 24 foot. The expectation is it matches the state documents and the state requirements. It's very clear now in our rules. So we're just please. Since we've been doing this for the last 2 or 3 years, we have had people go to public safety with a boat that they are looking to buy and get it measured. They have come in and they've said, hey, what is the measurement requirement? Please do that upfront investigation before you spend some money on that, because they're not cheap anymore. So we just want to make certain that everybody's doing that. We have also reached out to, hey, is there any gray area in the law on this? We reached out to the Secretary of State's office probably 3 or 4 times now. Your registration, your title, everything has to match state law. And for a pontoon, it's the deck. And for a speedboat, it's 20-foot measurement as well. So just please make certain that that's in the forefront if you're looking to make a change on a boat. member letter for trailer modifications, so we did send that out at the end of May. Again, that was basically making certain that we understand that our park models and our living space is 400 square feet. That is also state law. That is ANSA rules, ANSA code, which is for park models. We are a state monitored campground. We can't lose our status for this. We do have a town hall coming up on the 29th of June, which is next Saturday, not this Saturday, but next Saturday. We've been working, the park inspector, Jim Buchanan, myself, we've gone to manufacturers of the park models. We've been talking to certified engineers for park models. We've been talking to engineers that have written the code for ANSA and park model engineering code and building code. We're trying to get as much information out to the membership, but please, on a go-forward basis, that letter has been mailed out. We should not be making any modifications structurally, cutting out of walls, things of that nature. We just can't do that. We owe the membership. If it's already been done, what are the next steps? We're still working on that. The plan is to get that information to the membership at that town hall. After the town hall, we will also have contractors out there to help me answer any questions that you guys may have. So the town hall is the 29th. We're going to do 9 to 10:30 with the members and get you the information, hopefully, that you guys need. 10:30 to noon, we're going to have the contractors open house. And, there's some resolutions that will be read today about some of this stuff. So we just want to make certain that going forward, make certain that we're not making any of these massive changes or modifications. Any questions? Jim Buchanan, our park inspector, he and I have been the ones that have traveled to the manufacturers, talked to the engineers, and talked to the people that have been writing the code. And ironically, the call that we had the other day, we let Jim go on vacation. The call that I had the other day with the engineer who actually writes the code is, I had 15 to 20 minutes of his time, and then he was actually jumping on a Zoom call nationwide for updating park model code for structure. He wouldn't elaborate exactly what that meant or what they're talking about, but this is fluid. We're trying to get as much information. I know there's some angst out there. Please be patient with us. We'll try and answer the questions as quickly as we can and give you some direction. Okay? That's all I have.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yep.
And as Jeff said, it feels probably to you like it's a moving target. It feels like that to us too. We're trying to do our best to protect everybody and keep our campground status, which is important. Okay, for new business, we had petitions turned in by 4 candidates: Laura Hires, Barry Munger, Jenny Hager, and Scott Wyman. Today, those petitions were certified by members of the board. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve that certification.
So moved. Supported.
All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Our next order of business is to introduce our 2024 Election Commission. These people are wonderful volunteers. We have Erin Coley and Patty Coley, Jim Buchanan, and Jody Buchanan. They have to do a lot of advanced work on this, and they pretty much give up their day, the day of the election. So if we come in contact with them regarding the election, please be kind and respectful. I just sound like a broken record, I know. At this time, I will accept a motion to approve the 2024 Election Commission.
So moved, Kelly. Supported.
All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Our next order of business, we actually have a number of resolutions. We're going to vote on 2 of them, and we're going to simply read 2 others because they're kind of like documents we're still working on. We're still trying to get some answers. We're not really ready to commit, and we're going to be open to comment on those. The first resolution that I'm going to read is regarding the opening of a money market account so that we can take advantage of some good interest rates right now that are out there. This is resolution number 062124A. Resolution to accept the investment policy to add an interest-bearing money market account. Whereas Article 8, Section 6, Item B provides that the bylaws of Sandy Pines designate by resolution banking institutions as depository for the fund of Sandy Pines, the officers, agents, or employees authorized to execute contracts and other instruments, including withdrawals on behalf of Sandy Pines. Whereas the Finance Committee has reviewed and recommended the addition of an interest-bearing money market account for the best use of Sandy Pines operational funds. Whereas the Board of Directors of Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails Incorporated believes it is necessary to maintain the guidelines of the investment policy to add an interest-bearing money market account. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails Incorporated does hereby approve the following action to open an interest-bearing money market account to be maintained only to accrue interest and used along with the operational checking account. The account will have two signers, Park President Jeff Schweitzer and Chief Financial Officer Kimberly Williams. The account transfer from the operational checking account to the interest-bearing money market account must leave at least the amount equal to the current balance of outstanding checks plus the current week's accounts payable balance in the operational checking account. It is the responsibility of the Park President and Chief Financial Officer to ensure the amount of funds in the operational checking account and interest-bearing money market account uphold the guidelines of the investment policy. Be it resolved that the Board of Directors of Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails Incorporated does hereby approve the above resolution. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Second, Pat.
Kimberly, could you do the roll call, please?
Yes. Yes. Paul Pebble?
Yes.
Stephanie Stefania?
Yes.
Craig Bendy?
Yes.
Scott Morgan?
Yes.
Alan Carpenter?
Yes.
Rick Day?
Yes.
Bob Beckinga?
Yes.
Pat Tosma?
Yes.
And Kelly Johnson?
Yes.
All approved. 9-0.
Okay, motion carries. This next resolution is a proposal to hopefully clarify the guidelines, the rules for porches. And I'm going to read this. We're not going to vote on it. We're going to work on this, and we're going to discuss it, and we'll have more information on the 29th at that meeting. Resolution number 062124B, resolution to amend Rule Book Handbook. Whereas the bylaws of Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails Incorporated, Article 8, Section 6E gives the Board of Directors the power to adopt, amend, rescind, and repeal rules and regulations relating to the use of Sandy Pines property and the conduct of its members and their guests. Whereas Rules Section 9, items requiring 2 permits, Sandy Pines and Township, subsection B, screened porch enclosures currently provides. Item 5, no bedrooms or enclosed rooms on the porch. Item 9, 2 porches, maximum per site, if space allows and the inspector gives approval. That's dated 05/20/2016. Whereas the Board of Directors for the Health, Safety, and Welfare of Sandy Pines believes it is in the best interest of Sandy Pines to amend and clarify the rules and regulations. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails Incorporated does hereby approve the following amendments and additions to the rules and regulations relating to Section 9, items requiring 2 permits, Sandy Pines and Township, subsection B, screened porch enclosures. Item 5, no bedrooms, enclosed rooms, walls, or barriers of any type on porches. Porches must be fully visible, open from perimeter wall to perimeter wall and floor to ceiling. Item 9, 2 porches, maximum per site, no more than 1 per side of main RV unit, if space allows and the inspector provides written approval. Item 10, all necessary permits are obtained from the appropriate governing body. Okay, and again, I'm just reading that. It can be tweaked. we should have more information on steps going forward at the meeting on the 29th. The next one is also being read for consideration. We're not going to vote on it tonight. Resolution number 062124C, resolution to amend Rulebook Handbook. Whereas the bylaws of Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails Incorporated, Article 8, Section 6E gives the Board of Directors the power to adopt, amend, rescind, and repeal rules and regulations relating to the use of Sandy Pines property and the conduct of its members and their guests. Whereas Sandy Pines is a licensed campground with camping units defined as park model RVs, subject to ANSI 119.2 and 119.5 code construction with maximum 400 square feet livable space, where RVIA or RPTIA seals are required and applied to by the manufacturer to maintain RV maximum 400 square foot livable space and construction requirements. Whereas camping units with RVIA and RPTIA seals applied from manufacturers become void if structurally modified. Whereas Rule Section 2, Site Development and Regulations, subsection B, camping units does not address camping unit, park model, or trailer modifications. Whereas, if changes are made to the park model RVs that create more than 400 square feet, it could result in a significant increase to the taxable value of both real and personal property taxes at Sandy Pines, which would thereby increase the dues owed by members to cover the increased taxes. Whereas the Board of Directors for the Health, Safety, and Welfare of Sandy Pines believes it is in the best interest of Sandy Pines to amend and clarify the rules and regulations. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails Incorporated does hereby approve the following amendments and additions to the rules and regulations relating to Section 2, Site Development and Regulations, subsection B, camping units. Item 11, camping unit, park model, trailer modifications, added to page 37 and 38 of the Sandy Pines Rules, Regulations, and Bylaws Handbook. Item 11, camping unit, park model, trailer modifications. Any modifications structural to a camping unit, park model, or trailer are strictly prohibited as it voids the required RVIA and RPTIA seals, certifications, and maximum 400 square feet livable space requirements. Prohibited modifications, structural, include but are not limited to the following: alteration of any RV or park model trailer wall, window, door, doorway, or any other part of the structure in any way that increases the livable space beyond the maximum requirements for an RV or park model trailer. Any such modifications found will be addressed with points and fines with membership reviews to take place if points reach such review levels. Any such modifications found will require the members to rectify at their own cost and provide the appropriate inspection approvals as needed. Okay, and again, that's being read for your consideration, informational purposes. We're not ready at this point to vote on that, but we will be having that meeting on the 29th. Okay, and as much as, just as I like to talk, the next resolution, I'm gonna ask Paul Pepple to read it because my mouth is getting dry.
Okay, this is resolution number 062124D, resolution to acquire contiguous real property. Whereas the bylaws of Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails Incorporated, Article 4, Section 1, gives the Board of Directors the power to purchase property if all of the following conditions are met. A, Sandy Pines has sufficient capital resources to acquire the property without taking on a debt or a mortgage. And B, the proposed property acquisition is contiguous to the property currently owned by Sandy Pines. The members shall be informed of any property acquisition via the next scheduled communication with the members. Whereas a property located at 2738 138th Avenue, Hopkins, Michigan, the property, was recently listed for sale or is about to be listed for sale. The Board of Directors of Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails Incorporated by itself, and as the sole member of Lake Monterey Golf Course, LLC, Sandy Pines, wishes to make an offer on the property. Whereas Sandy Pines has sufficient capital resources to acquire the property without taking on debt or a mortgage, and the acquisition of the property is contiguous with the property currently owned by Sandy Pines. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails Incorporated does hereby approve the following offer to be made on the property, so long as the conditions of Article 4, Section 1 of the Sandy Pines bylaws are met. An offer shall be made to acquire the property with an accelerator clause that increases the purchase price by $1,000 over the highest offer, with a limit to be determined by the park president within the bylaw parameters. Be it resolved that the Board of Directors of Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails Incorporated does hereby approve the offer to be made and authorizes Jeff Schweitzer, park president, to execute and deliver the offer referred to it in this resolution and to perform all other acts and obligations contemplated herein.
Okay, before we vote on that, Jeff, could you give us just a little bit of background on this property?
Sure. Does anybody know where this property is located? Okay, all right. So, on Lake Monterey Golf Course, on the back nine, there is a trailer, a garage, and a pole barn that has been owned by, I think, a former contractor here who used to do golf cart repair. It is smack dab in our footprint within the golf course. It's between, I believe, holes 13 and 14. So you got a couple of things going on. One, it's in our footprint, so it is contiguous. Two, feedback from members as well as public play. We lose business from corporate events and things of that nature because our back nine is mainly a par 3 course. If this property is purchased, we can remove the trailer, we can remove the garage, we can extend one, possibly two of those holes to make them longer distance holes, which is a benefit for the people that we're trying to get out there to golf. The other thing is, from a Sandy Pines perspective, you're your own best neighbor. If it's in the middle of our footprint, you know, we don't know if somebody's going to buy that and they're going to tear it down and build a 4-story house on there. We don't know. You don't know what kind of neighbor you're going to have. Right now, the individual that has owned that property and lived there for a very long time, as I said, has been a good neighbor. He worked in the park. He did a bunch of stuff for us. It was a good relationship. Now that has become available, we want to make certain that we can control our own destiny in that area, and purchase that before anybody else does, before they do anything else that might not be advantageous to the golf course or Sandy Pines. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve. Pat?
Support.
All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Oh.
Roll call.
We do
Sorry.
roll call. Thank you.
He's like listening to me over here.
Sorry. Rick Day,
Yes.
Bob Dackenbaugh,
Yes.
Pat Dosma,
Yes.
Kelly Johnson,
Yes.
Paul Heffel,
Yes.
Stephanie Senior, Craig Bendy,
Yes.
Scott Wyman,
Yes.
and Alan Carpenter. 9-0 approved.
Okay, with the completion of our planned agenda, I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting at 5:49.
Motion to adjourn. Paul.
Support. Rick.
Any objections? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, so at this time, I'm going to turn it back over to Jeff, so he can give you directions for questions and answers.
Okay, so we are on track for 30 minutes, which would be 6:19, 6:20. Right on track to try and get you back to your Friday evening. We'll open it up, again, the mic's over there, we're gonna start timing this, and anybody that has a question, feel free, question or comment, feel free to step up to the mic, name, site number, and feel free. I do have a stack of write-in questions, but we have a good audience here. I want to hear from the audience first before we start going down the write-ins, so here we go.
Hi, my name is Scott Miller, like site 619. My question is concerning the maintenance pontoon boat that's parked over at the boat launch. There's no reason for that pontoon to be parked there full time if we're not using it. They should be pulling it in and out, just like everybody else does with their boat, so that people that do have boats that require handicap loading have more room to load that boat launch and end dock and load their guests onto their boats. I see no reason why the maintenance pontoon should be parked there if they're not using it.
No, thank you for your question. You sent that in as a write-in as well. We'll send you the same answer in writing. First thing is, number one, it's not the maintenance pontoon boat. It is a public safety boat. So a couple of things that's been going on with that boat. One, maintenance and public safety and our lake committee have been using that boat to put our minions out there, our buoys. We did it, I want to say the 20th or 21st of May. Some of them were damaged. We had to come back and do some work on those. That's why it's been tied up there. We've also put out swim buoys. So there's been a lot of activity of moving things back and forth. Number two, that boat again was purchased by public safety. If there's an accident on that lake, Patty's boat is a very small boat, and you are not going to be able to pull somebody out of the water into her boat. So that was the reason for purchasing that pontoon, for emergency purposes. Now, if that boat is sitting somewhere else, you pull that out and you send it over to the Volcom or something, and any of you get in an accident, that's going to be a problem trying to get that thing in there in a timely manner. However, we also have heard feedback from the membership. Some of your boats have a, what is it? It's on the right side, right, Scott?
Yes.
Yeah. So, all right, that's great. If you have a door that opens on the left, you can walk in there and get it. If you have a door on the opposite side, you're following the lake, right? So we have located a secondary dock. We are trying to find a place to put that public safety boat for emergencies. That is the number one thing, is emergencies on the lake. We'd rather be prepared than not prepared. So good question. We're working on it. I'm still working with maintenance and public safety on timing on one location and two timing on when we can put a dock out there so we can tie that up somewhere else. So appreciate your patience. We'll take care of it. Good question.
Eric Miller, site 1190. Coming out of the phase 3 inlet into the lake, there are several trees there sitting by water. Is there any plans to have those removed?
I don't have an answer for that. This is the first I've heard of it, so I'm not aware that those are there. We can bring that up with lake committee maintenance, find out what we can do to try and rectify that. I know in that tunnel area down the channel coming from phase 2 into phase 3 and vice versa, lake committee has recommended, because it is getting shallow in there and there are some objects there. Jim, I don't know if Val's here either, but from the lake committee, I don't know if those lights have been installed yet, but we're going to have lights installed that are motion censored, that are bright, that will light up that area at dusk and at night to try and avoid some of those obstacles.
Now, these are right where the buoy is, at the inlet from the no-wake zone part of the lake into the inlet that goes
Into
back
the chance.
Into the channel.
into the channel.
Okay.
Right, on the lake side of that
On
building.
Chapel side or on the opposite side?
No, it's by that house that's sitting on the corner you're talking about.
Right, but there are two trees.
Two trees.
Both sticking out of the water. One's on one side toward the chapel, the other is on the other side of the buoy toward phase 2.
Okay. All right. We'll get somebody out there to take this.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Albany K298. I'm just a little confused on the trailer Lynn purchased. The address that was given was by Indian Trail entrance in phase 4, but you were talking about level 14 and 15.
This address came from the listing, so.
Because it looks like the house that's at the entrance of Indian Trail, which I was thought would be
It's
something.
just to the right of the phase 4, and as you face the phase 4 entrance, it's just to the right of that.
But that's not level 14 and 15.
13 and 14.
Oh,
13 and 14.
I thought that was the front end.
It used to be.
Oh, it used to be changed.
I haven't golfed in a while.
So your game's great, right?
It's improved,
Any other? Okay.
Oh, we need to lower it.
No, I can do it.
You go.
Cheryl Champion, lot N212, on the corner of Winnebago Trail and Ottawa Trail. The lot has big, huge privacy shrubs, no big deal. However, you can't see around that corner when you're stopped to make a turn. You can't see anything coming from the right side. It's super dangerous. And I'm just asking if we could get like one of those poles with mirrors like we had over in phase 4 on another, just to make it safer, because somebody's gonna get hit. I've watched several come close. That's all.
Okay, no, thank you. We'll take a look at that.
Larry Munger, E161. On that trailer, you may want to consider the loft area and how much square foot you can have in the loft, and that affects the 400 of the entrance level.
Loft does not include square footage. Loft is considered storage.
Right, but some people don't see it for some reason.
Yeah. We have gone ad nauseum with the manufacturers and the code individuals. I'm just going to leave it at that. It's considered storage, and it's not part of the 400 square foot.
So can you have, you can have beds up there in your storage area?
Dave, it's considered storage.
What about beds? We let it go. That's where you store your bed?
Yeah, where you store your grandchildren.
As long as you don't raise the roof. Just don't raise the roof. No dormers like that.
Good question. Good question, Larry. While we're waiting for any other questions, I do want to read a couple that I think are pretty important. They're in regards to the lake and the green space, the sand, the weeds. So I'm going to read two of them together. So this is coming from a member at site 1048. Are there any regulations regarding cleanup along the shoreline sand area? Yes, we'll get into that in a minute. I am noticing that many members on the water have let weeds grow down by the water, and in some cases they are out of control. Is this recommended to help with erosion issues? Yes, it is. Who's responsible for maintaining this area? Members are responsible. We'll get to that in a second. Is it up to the members whether or not to remove the weeds or at least cut them? So the response to that, and let me read this other one because it kind of go hand in hand. I am concerned, this is coming from a member at 5019. I am concerned with the level of seaweed in Sailboat Cove. It is beyond out of control. I am seeking to understand why we can't keep this at a swimmable level. My kids don't want to jump off our docks. They don't want to float in the middle because it is so gross. How are we managing this piece of our number one asset? And how did we get to this level of seaweed? Is it poor management or other factors? She has also emailed maintenance. So, just to be clear again, one of the reasons we're getting these grants, specifically the dam grant, is when the state of Michigan has come out to look at our projects, they want to understand what are we doing to enforce our rules, take care of our lake ourselves, before we give you $700,000. So part of this scenario that we got is the green space. You can put sand, you can move sand around, you can do tidying up of that area at above the high water mark. The high water mark is down by that. It's almost like the hardened portion of the lake in the cove around. That's called a high water mark. The best way to try to identify the high water mark are with the boat stake locator poles. They are as close to the high water mark as possible. If you go to the high water mark in towards the lake without a legal permit, that's a state of Michigan violation fine, and that's also a Sandy Pines fine. That's where the weeds are growing on that area. We've seen some people bring out a rototill those weeds, get rid of them. You can't do that. We've seen people bring in loads of sand and push it all the way down over those weeds into the lake. You can't do that. If you're at that high water mark and in towards the lake, that's the state of Michigan area, and you can't do that without approval from the park inspector and the state of Michigan with permits. Anything at that level and above towards your site, towards your grass, towards your green space, please make certain that you are getting approval from the park inspector that he understands what you're doing. That you can do. Now, depending on what you're doing, you may need a Sandy Pines permit or may not. But the first thing you need to do is make certain you're calling the park inspectors on this to understand where you're at and what you're doing. The weeds. So the weeds in the lake, this area in the Sailboat Cove, we have a company called PLM that comes out on a regular basis to take care of our lake. If anybody saw the flat bottom boat with the swamp people, that kind of boat that goes out there, they did go take a look at that area, and it is not weeds. It's called chara, which is like a carpet-like algae, and that is good for our lake, getting the vegetation back, getting the fish back, things of that nature. But what's happening is we had a very mild winter, and now with the heat, this algae has like exploded. So it's down it's going all the way down to the bottom of the lake and coming up through the water. So we have asked them to do some minor treatments of that to kind of pound that down a little bit to keep it on the floor of the lake. But that is actually good for our fish and for the lake. And 4 or 5 years ago when we started out with the lake committee and the survey, some of the comments was, your lake is barren, it's dead on the bottom, there's no vegetation. We're starting to get that back. Bass tournament over Memorial Weekend, we got feedback from the fishermen out there. They've seen the most fish out there they've seen in 10 years. So we're starting to get that back. So if you've got any questions about what we need to do there, please make certain that you're getting the proper approval. Okay? All right, talk long enough on that. Any other questions?
Paul, A298, I'm going to ask a question I know even less about than golf. You mentioned earlier that the Darn project is possibly going to drop the water a foot. And I know that could differ around different parts of the lake. Does that at all impact the high water mark?
It does not. Your high water mark, again, is that hardened edge that's around the lake. And again, one of the problems with our lake is that hardened edge isn't like other lakes because our level fluctuates so much. But the high water mark is based on topography and how our lake is with the land around it. So that high water mark is always going to be a specific point all the way around. Whether the water reaches that high water mark is based on Mother Nature and how much we can pump through our pumps. Good question. Keep it going.
I understand. For us newcomers, can you explain the dam project, please? What it's going to do to the lake and pros and cons for us?
Sure. No, good question. So the Lake Monterey Dam is owned by Sandy Pines, but it's monitored by Allegheny County. It's 53 years old, as well as that metal corrugate tube underneath there. So it's an earthen dam. This used to be a onion field. Dammed it up. That's how we got Lake Monterey. Every year that, at least the reports that I've seen, I want to say go back to like 2013-ish, maybe 2010. Allegheny County will come out and they'll rate our dam, and it goes from satisfactory, which is the highest level, to I believe unsatisfactory, which there's an emergent need. This thing is going to be a Midland crisis. Fix it. We've had satisfactory level all throughout, again, up until December of last year, where on the outside of that corrugate tube, there's a thing called piping. Basically, it's leaking on the outside of that tube. We brought in the state, we brought in the county, we brought in engineers. It's not an emergent need, but it's a sign that that tube is wearing, and it's starting to, I don't say give way, but it's starting to wear out. So they downgraded for the first time our dam to a poor condition. Again, it's not an emergent need. It's not like this thing is going to flood everywhere, but because they downgraded it, the state has come in and said, you will fix it. And okay, so we got engineers that were involved, the drain commissioner's been working up with us, Lake Monterey Township, Salem Township. We all have gotten together and put a plan together with a certified engineer. That corrugated tube that's sticking out on the other side towards 28, that's going to get lopped off. There's going to be concrete that's going to get filled inside of that. Same on the inside of the dam, that is going to get lopped off. It's going to get filled with concrete. So that's going to get plugged up. Then what's going to happen is it's already been ordered due to supply chain. There's going to be a large square culvert, precast concrete culvert that's going to actually go on top of that corrugated tube. And underneath the earth is what's called a clay barrier. The clay barrier fits and packs better on a square angle versus the round. So that's why the engineers have said you need a square culvert for this. That is going to extend out further than what the round corrugated tube is been. So how are you going to do this, right? There's water there. Well, one of the state individuals said, well, just drain the lake. Can't drain the lake. So you're going to see what are called coffer dams around there, and they're thinking like sheets of metal that are intertwined almost like Lego pieces that seal. It's going to go around that spillway, and just the area around the spillway is going to get drained all the way down to the bottom, and then they're gonna put that corrugated tube or the square culvert tube in there. They're going to do some things around the spillway. We'll probably have to replace the grate that's on top of that spillway. Then riprap is going to be put all the way along from that boat launch all the way down to that sandy beach on the other side of the dam where the boat stakes are. You're going to have riprap there. There's going to be fabric underneath that riprap. It's gonna go about 4 feet out, 4 to 6 feet out into the lake with giant boulders, and then smaller boulders come up on. That road's gonna get ripped up. We're gonna put wrap on there. I know this is gonna be an unpopular comment. The shrubs are gonna go away. The shrubs have to go. It's gonna look completely different. It's gonna be a major construction process. It will start after Labor Day. We're still working on how do you get from point A to point B across there. We're working with the road commission to allow Sandy Pines golf carts to go on the road. You're gonna have to do that at your own risk. Please, be careful, but we're working on accessibility still, on how to get there, because we're still gonna be active. We've had 70-degree weather in October, right? Labor Day to probably mid-November is when that is gonna take place. Yeah.
Follow-up question then?
Yes.
Since the lake has to be down an extra foot in order to do this, how's that gonna affect us that have boat stakes and boats in phase 3 to get through that part in the channel? Should we consider taking our boats out right at the end of Labor Day then?
We're gonna get a communication on that. We're talking about a couple of things. You can get your boats out early, or we do have some reserved boat stakes that we can move people to this side of the lake if you want to still utilize your boat. So,
thank you.
You're welcome. Good question. 21 minutes. In 8 minutes and 50 seconds left.
Good evening, Angel Comno, K306. We are on the lake over here and just bought on the lake and have a seawall that needs some repair. And I'm just curious if there's some information that can be shared about seawalls that are failing, repair, riprap, boardwalks, all of that.
Yep. No, good question. And been out to that boardwalk many times, taking a walk through there.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Hold that comment. So again, there is an area, so if you start at the one point, it's that seawall and that boardwalk and decking is getting bad. And then kind of in the middle of that area, you've got some pretty decent decking going on. And then that back third, where that tree fell down, is a train wreck. It's all over the place, right? The state of Michigan, and Jim can correct me if I'm wrong, because he's got all their names, numbers, emails, he's talked to them religiously for us. But any new project from the state of Michigan, they're gonna wanna require riprap. That's their number one option is riprap. Seawalls, they will not approve seawalls. And here's why. If this is a seawall, when a wave hits that, it's not getting absorbed by rocks, where it hits that and the energy picks up. And then when it goes around the corner, as that picks up, it's gathering dirt and sand and mud from the bottom of the lake, and it's dumping it around the corner. And now all of a sudden you've got a sandbar that's getting pushed out. So they will not approve retaining walls. One thing that we do need to look at over there is, even on that area that has good decking, what's going on underneath that? Because the decking overhangs, and then you've got more seawall wood under here that appears to be getting pounded and rotted out. Right now, the state rule and law, Jim will correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're in an area and it's 10% or less, they will allow you to repair that. If it's 10.1 or more, you're gonna have to rip all of that out, and they're gonna want fabric, riprap coming all the way up. Jim did bring out a contractor to take a look, and we got some feedback that, we still have some questions on. I have talked to some people in that area that's interested in kind of pooling the funds. to go get that done. And again, the question is, well, who pays for that? The members that put it there, the members will have to pay for that. So that caveat is, again, part of our lake committee is how do we improve our lake, and do we need riprap all the way around the entire lake? And we've talked about that at the town hall in May for the lake, and some of the feedback is it's our number one asset. Just go do it and assess everybody. So we're still trying to gather all of that information to come up with a good plan. One of the other questions that came in is, hey, Sailboat Cove is pretty shallow. Sorry. Just get a crane in there and start dredging. State of Michigan will not allow us to dredge unless we have that hardened shell taken care of, which is a stable lake level with riprap around it, so you're not continuing to dump sand all over the place. And then you can start digging that out and removing it. Because if you dig it out now, I think the analogy that we used before for somebody that might have been here is you go take your kids out to the beach and you dig a hole to do a sand castle, and a wave comes in, it washes that hole and fills it up with sand. That's what's happening to our lake. So there's a specific step-by-step process that the state wants us to do before we start dredging. And part of it is the riprap. That help?
I think so. I mean, yes and no. So what you're, where we are, we have seawalls all the way down.
Yep.
We're trying to figure out, because our top boards were horrible. They were safety hazard. Jim knows this. I'm sitting right behind him. And we paused our project of replacing the top boards.
Yep.
What you're speaking of with the 10%, that's the this way, not this way boards. Is that correct?
Correct.
Just for clarification.
Yes. In the water.
The boards in the water, 10%. Those are fine. So we're just trying to figure out if we can do what we can do. Our top, if we should just pause and wait for the riprap or what.
Now the other option is, again, you've got three options, really. You can leave it as is, fail. You can have, you're concerned about your area, so you go do it right, you do riprap, and then all of a sudden your neighbors, so you got riprap, nothing, broken boards, riprap. We want a consistent shoreline to take care of that. The other option is, hey, from a park perspective, it all gets ripped out, we go to natural shoreline, and that's it. And I don't think we want to do that. So we're still working on stuff to try and figure out what's the best for the members and the lake.
Any idea if that will happen this summer?
It will not.
Or, the answer, maybe not.
As far as, so we're trying to get better direction, because if you look at our town hall, this is 204, the fourth one is in September, it's focusing on the lake.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Still thank you.
1 minute and 56 seconds. Anybody else? We want to call it a night, back up to that steamy weather? Okay. All right, thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Have a blessed day.
Thank you.